Welcome to my brand new basement grow room, except it's not new at all. This space is no more than a rough, unfinished, barely heated corner of my basement. But we're not using it for anything else. So this year I'm going to take advantage of it and I'm going to use it to grow thousands of plants for the market garden outside. Now last year I grew everything in my dining room, but that was a problem because it was cram-packed, it didn't look very good, and I tracked potting soil all the way through the house. So I promised I would get it out of the dining room, and this space is perfect. It doesn't have to look good, and let's face it, it really doesn't. But it does the trick. It stays at a fairly decent temperature for seedlings, not too cool, but not nearly as warm as upstairs either. But so far, that's working out really well. So let's take a look at what I have growing, and then we'll take a walk outside because I have some things growing in the greenhouse as well, even though there is still about 1.5 feet of snow outside. So I have turned off the lights so that you can hopefully see not too bad. These lights tend to bleach everything out. This is officially a 6-tier shelf, although I'm obviously not using that top one because it's 3 inches from the ceiling. And at the moment there's nothing on the bottom either, but that is perfectly good for storage. 4 of these shelves have 2 LED grow lights on them, and they are 4 feet in length. These lights have been absolutely fantastic. I do have an affiliate link in the description below if you want to check them out. They are lightweight, they are very cheap to run, they were really easy to set up, and they're fairly cheap to buy too. Overall, the cheapest, most effective ones that I have tried so far. So starting up here, I have 5 trays that are completely filled with soil blocks. The first one over here is all Chabot carnations. We have Chabot La France and Chabot Marie Chabot. I did grow carnations last year, slightly different varieties, but they worked really well in our soil, so I'm excited for these this year. Next we have larkspur. I had Splish Splash had really good germination, and the light pink not so much, but there's still a few popping up. Really though, this is more larkspur than I need, so that's not a huge loss. What's in there? Tray number 3 is the last succession of Lisianthus, and I'll show you some more of those in a moment. And then I have Status. Now these are just starting to germinate, so you can't see anything in that tray yet. But the last one, which I'm really happy with, is Bells of Ireland. And they germinated just like this in this tray. I didn't cold stratify them or anything. And they're going to need to be separated fairly shortly. But they're very happy in there right now. These trays each hold 160 soil blocks. These are for things that I wanted more of. And these ones hold 60. So the lights are slightly lower on these ones. I have some parsley and chervil here. And this is a good example of why you put your plants under lights immediately when they start to germinate. These ones I just forgot to check. They were upstairs because I wanted to keep the temperature up a little bit, but I'm going to pot them up a bit deeper and they should be okay. This one is Godetia. I'm very happy with the germination on that one. Sweet William, not so much, but I'll do another round of those this week, and same with the Iceland poppies. These two are both new to me this year. I have to peek at the tags of some of these. Oh, Pennycress, which is also new to me. Really good germination on that one. And then Buplarum, which I did grow last year. These last two are not new either. This one here is Feverfew. There's 2 different varieties, Tetra White and Single, Vegmo Single on that one. And then this one is Summer Berries Mix Yarrow. So growing plants in these soil blocks takes a little bit more attention. You need to keep on top of the watering for sure, and once you start to see a significant amount of roots, I am going to be potting these up. I don't want them to get root bound, and it's still likely to be another 3 to 4 weeks before they can go outside. There are a few things though that are much closer to being potted up. These ones are Stock and Snapdragons. Now those giant yellow tags back there are just yellow sticky traps for fungus gnats. They've caught a couple here and there, so hopefully that's all we have. I don't really see any flying around. That's more of a detection method than complete prevention, but there's no problem that I have to deal with yet. So these down here I have Snapdragons and Stock, which I started I think 3 weeks ago, but those are going to need to be potted up. And there's a couple of things I could do at this point. I could pop them into cell trays, which is what I was planning on doing, or I could fill bulb crates with soil and plant them in there. That way they can be moved out into the greenhouse and brought out of the greenhouse if the temperatures get too hot. I think I'm going to do that with the stalk because the stalk is one cut. They are just single flowering. I don't have a branching variety, which means you can put them really close together. So the snapdragons, I think I'm going to pot up and eventually move those outside into the ground. But I'm going to try putting the stalk into a bulb crate. That way there's no problem if we get a dramatic drop in temperatures. I can protect it or even bring it into the house if it's going to get too bad. And that was something I was considering all along. We have had years where our spring was really early and I want to be prepared if that's the case. But if not, I do want to try out a few other things too. So stalk is a perfect thing to try in a bulb crate because you can jam them really close together. It's not really a big waste of space, and that means that I can move them around to keep them in temperatures that make them happy. Both of these things are very hardy, and snapdragons will even overwinter in our zone 6 winter. And this shelf that we skipped, these are the Lisianthus. I have one full tray, which is 96, and a half tray right here. I have a gap here where I've just put a handful of bachelor's buttons that I'm growing just to stick into a corner of my ornamental bed. But the tray of Lisianthus that I have up here is going to get potted up into the rest of this tray momentarily. So there's room for, there's 48 here, and there's room for 48 more, and that's probably all I have in good ones up there. Lisianthus, I wouldn't call them difficult. You just have to give them the conditions that they want, and that takes practice. So I haven't quite gotten that really good yet, but this is significantly better than I did last year. Some of these plants, and they are incredibly slow growing, but considering that, some of them look really, really good. I think I lost maybe 5 or 6 after I transplanted. I'm just turning my lights back on. There we go. And this isn't all that I have started. I have a full table right on the other side of the room of things that are germinating. So we're going to have a look at that next. So under all these trays is a, I believe, 48 by 20 inch heat mat. It's a good size and I can fit all of this on here. And I do have some flowers, but I've started a lot of vegetables as well. So let's have a look. I'm going to have to look for... Yeah, there's nothing to see here. These are peppers and these are asparagus. This one here is another round of stock, is it? No, that doesn't need to be on a heat mat. What is this? Oh, Cineglossum, right. Or Chinese forget-me-nots. I have, there are 80 cubes of firmament, which is a blue, and then 80 of mystery rose. So that is the Cineglossum, which I'm trying for the first time this year. And these are lavender. This humidity dome is completely filthy, but that's just fine. I made 80 cubes in each tray, and this one is purple. It did not list a specific variety. And then I had Elegance White, but that packet only had 50 seeds in it. Hopefully we'll get good germination. This one is, oh, asparagus. I think I made a mistake. If I said this was asparagus, these are onions and leeks, which don't really need to be on a heat mat, but it'll speed them up for a few days. This one is asparagus, and it listed germination temperature at 25 degrees Celsius, which I think is somewhere around 80 Fahrenheit, so that needs a heat mat for sure. And then the last one is snapdragons, which also doesn't really need to be on a heat mat. These are different than the cut flower snapdragons I started. These are a border size just to sell as plants at the farmer's market. I almost forgot, it looks like I have a tray in there as well. This is a cheap little IKEA shelf that I use just for germination. It's really good for holding in the humidity when I run out of humidity domes. That's the stalk. I knew I had a tray of stalk somewhere. And there are tiny little roots coming out of those seeds, so I'm going to give them a little sprinkle of water and top it with vermiculite before I put it under my grow lights to hang out with my other stock and my snapdragons. So this end of the room is where I do a lot of seeding and potting up. There's half of my bale of potting soil, which I taped up just because I had to get it down the stairs after I had already opened it. These are the pots that I sell plants in at the farmer's market. I do not like to sell plants in plastic pots, so I order these in. I have only 300 this year. In the past, I've ordered cases of 800, and I think last year I went through 2 cases. But I'm not doing a big seedling sale. I'm just going to have a few things at the market, a couple of trays of flowers that always sell well. I still have sort of random things all over this room, but it's neater than it usually is. And my soil blocker. So everything on that shelf, on those top two shelves, was made with this right here. And these here, I'm getting ready to pop the leftover Lysianthus into those. I'm also going to try using this coconut fiber stuff. I'm still reading up on what to add to it and how to make a proper potting mix out of it. So with that, it's time to head out to the greenhouse. Yep, we still have snow. There we are. So down there in the ground, we have ranunculus that overwintered in this spot. And we're zone 6 here, so that is not supposed to happen. But just the protection of this greenhouse and a couple layers of frost cloth seem to have done a pretty good job. I do use this greenhouse to overwinter some things. We have a rosemary and thyme, and we've been using bits of this all winter. It's been really great. I just wrap it up really well when we get our cold snaps. Do you see that? There's a bunny. That bunny is my nemesis. He escaped from that weird looking thing back there is a bunny hutch that my neighbor built. There he goes. He escaped 8 months ago and he's been living in my garden ever since, guys. I have no idea what I'm going to do about that, but he's already chewed the bark off my apple tree, one of them. He's lucky he's cute. I just wish he wouldn't chew on my flowers. So back to happier things. There's a whole bunch of things in here. There is boxwood, there are hardy gladiolas, there's the eucalyptus. So we do not have any eucalyptus seeds started because I have some there. These pots have kind of fallen over. I need to do some cleanup in here. These are saffron crocus. This is a trailing sedum. And now to the good stuff. There are the ranunculus. So here are some new ones I bought this year. These are saved corms. Not a whole lot of a difference between those two, between the new ones and my saved ones. So that's a good sign. These are also new, and then there are some anemones. You can ignore that, those are old tags. These are in fact anemones. And then more down here on this shelf, and these are all saved from last year. I let them die back naturally. I let them completely dry out, and then I just stored them away. And then a few more anemones down here. Some of them sprouted pretty quick, and some of them are just coming, but that's okay. And then just a couple more pots. And pretty soon these pots, there's some nice little crocuses that are starting to come up. These pots are all going to go out on the deck and make more room in here. So it is kind of hard to see because it's jam-packed in here, but there is a U-shaped in-ground bed that goes all the way around, and then down underneath these pots, there's the edge of it right there. And we grow in here all summer. It's made out of old windows. Some of them, especially those ones up at the top, I open on warm days. It is overcast today, but it is still 12 degrees Celsius warmer in here than it is outside. And it's not completely perfectly sealed, as you can see by that gap over the door. So that is the greenhouse. And if you're interested in seeing how we built this, I do have a video on that I will link. Hello, Mr. Bunny. I see you back there. You're awfully cute. It's too bad you're bad. If you are new to my channel, I cannot wait for you to see this garden in the summer when it is in full swing. Those are all beds, and about half of them are full with overwintering flowers. And these ones are full of about 2,000 spring bulbs. We have 4 beds here, 2 full of tulips and 1 full of daffodils. They are just waiting for this snow to melt. It is definitely still chilly outside. So that's going to be all for today, I think. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and we'll see you for more seed starting shortly.